부산영어방송.
70 years ago, Busan was the provisional capital of a war-torn Korea. But thanks to the international community, we emerged into an economic powerhouse embracing technology and industries. And now we wish to return the favor. The world now faces critical transitions stemming from digital inequity, food insecurity, climate change, and the pandemic. Sharing our unique journey of overcoming post-war poverty, we will put our heads together and move towards progress. Busan is now the model city of the fourth industrial revolution and smart city infrastructure. Looking ahead to 2030, Busan is prepared to attract the World Expo.
부산은 준비됐습니다. 부산 나 상상. 부산 준비하라. 부산 준비됐지.
Busan is ready. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산영어방송.
지금 방송 광고라는 부메랑을 던져보세요. 소비자를 향해 정확히 날아가는 광고, 힘차게 돌아가는 경제. 부메랑처럼 다시 기업의 이익으로 되돌아오니까요. 방송 광고, 경제에 큰 힘이 됩니다. 부산 방송광고발전협의회.
The time is now 2 o'clock.
Welcome to BFM News at 2. I'm Haeyeon Park. President Yoon Suk-yeol has requested parliamentary approval for the nomination of current Constitutional Court Justice Lee Jong-seok as the new Chief Justice. Yoon highlighted Lee's expertise and dedication to protecting the Constitution and his commitment to safeguarding basic rights, and further praised Lee for representing diverse interests, including defending minorities and the socially vulnerable during his 5 years as a Constitutional Court Justice. Lee is set to replace the retiring Chief Yoon Nam-seok pending approval following a confirmation hearing. The government has reported 2 additional cases of lumpy skin disease in cattle, bringing the total cases in the country to 29. These latest cases were confirmed yesterday in farms located in Seosan and Hongseong in South Chungcheong Province. Since the first ever case was reported last Friday, a total of 29 cases have been recorded, with 7 suspected infections currently being tested. Local governments and livestock farmers across the country are taking swift emergency measures and completing vaccination of the cattle against the disease. The number of South Koreans relocating within the country in September hit a 50-year low. About 450,000 people moved, marking a 1.6% decline from last year and the lowest for September since 1973. The population mobility rate, measuring relocations per 100 people, dropped to 10.7%. This decline is attributed to a decrease in the number of people in their 20s changing residency, while the senior citizen population increases. The stagnant housing market, influenced by rising interest rates and economic slowdown, have also played a role. Shifting gears to local news, the Busan Metropolitan Corporation, or BMC, announced plans to improve various evaluation standards for architectural design competitions and private sector proposals to prevent collusion and vested interests. The organization plans to increase credibility by reviewing relevant laws and past competition processes. They will now disclose competition standards in advance, including keeping the identities of judges confidential until the day of evaluation. To ensure fairness in selecting construction management service providers, the BMC will reduce the number of internal committee members as well. These updated evaluation standards will start to be in effect on November 1st. The Busan City Office of Education was found to have improperly used over 20 million won allocated for students' overseas training for domestic teacher training. According to Busan City Council's Special Committee on Education Office budgets, the office had initially planned an overseas project in China for high school students last year, but had to change them to domestic trips due to COVID-19. However, the 23 million won budget designated for the Unification Future project was misappropriated into teachers' training with an addition of 30 million won. Members of the Special Committee for Administrative Inspection pointed out that diverting the allocated budget for students into a different use is a serious matter. In international news, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken issued a warning that the U.S. would respond swiftly and decisively to any attacks on Americans in the Middle East, whether they are carried out by Iran or proxy groups. This was stated during a UN Security Council meeting in the wake of several recent attacks on U.S. and coalition forces in Iraq and Syria. While the United States has not obtained direct intelligence linking Iran to the Hamas attack on Israel, they have expressed concerns about Iran's historical support for proxy groups in the region. Blinken emphasized that the U.S. does not seek conflict with Iran, but will defend its personnel and security in the case of an attack. Now for the local weather. It's currently 23 degrees Celsius under clear skies in Busan. Sunny skies will continue through the day with temperatures averaging at 19 degrees Celsius. It's time to wrap up this hour's news. Thank you for joining. You're listening to BEFM 부산 영어방송.
Your best choice. BEFM Busan 영어방송.
Coming up next is Steve Hatherly Reboot. BEFM 부산 영어방송.
What you're about to hear is amazing. That's because you're locked in to Busan's #1 English radio station. Whether you're at home, at work, or driving in your car, you will be exposed to radio excellence. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show because it starts right now.
If you know me, then you know that I love my job. And I think if you listen to me on the radio regularly, then you do know that very well. And because I love my job, I often talk about some of its advantages. But here's one thing I've never really appreciated about it. It's safe. It's not dangerous at all. In fact, there's very little chance of being injured or attacked here at BEFM. Knock on wood. It sounds like I'm joking, but actually, not having to worry about being safe at work is something that we really should be thankful for. Today, I'll make you even more thankful for your work by telling you about some of the most dangerous jobs in the United States. It's Wednesday, October 25th, 2023. I'm Steve Hatherly. This is Steve Hatherly Reboot. Let's go. That was Katrina and the Waves walking on sunshine. And if you are walking on air, then that means that you're feeling pretty good. But I guess if you're walking on sunshine, it means you're feeling even better. And in this song, Katrina is filled with such unadulterated joy because she's not sure, or maybe now sure, how much her man loves her. She knows it's a lot, I guess. Apparently, it's a long-distance relationship, but that's okay. She knows that someday he'll show up at her door and they will live happily ever after. Hence, Walking on Sunshine. That tune got us into the show today. We are live in the studio from Busan on this Wednesday afternoon. Welcome to the show, everyone. You're tuned in on BEFM 90.5 in Busan and 103.3 FM in the Gijang, Jongguan, and Noksan areas in Seoul on TBS EFM 101.3 and in Gwangju on GFN 98.7. I'm your host, Steve Hatherly. Thank you so much for being with us today. Quick note on YouTube before we get going. Go on over to youtube.com and search BEFM or Busan 영어방송 in Korean. You can find our live stream there, and you can watch us there until the songs start to play. And once they do start to play, then at that point they will fade out. What you need to do at that time, if it's not too much trouble, is open up your BEFM app. You can listen to the music there, or of course you can listen through FM radio as well. We apologize for the inconvenience, and we appreciate your patience. Hopefully at some point in the future that'll work itself out. All right, let's get into the show, shall we? Coming up in hour number one, we'll kick things off with today's Hot Off the Press, where you will hear some of the newest, hottest tracks from the world of music. I've got some info on the artist and some info on the song as well. After that, it's Wednesday, and that means Jimmy will be in the studio for today's Bring On Busan. Jimmy will give us the best that Busan has to offer in terms of places to go and things to see, and I will learn a little bit of the local dialect as well. Then coming up in hour number two, for our fun fact of the day, we're going to talk about the 10 most dangerous jobs in the United States for the year 2023. Of course, the world is a big place, but I think if we look at the jobs in the United States, the 10 most dangerous jobs, those are probably representative of some of the most dangerous jobs around the world as well. The list has 10. I'm not sure if we'll get through all 10 or not. We'll see how we go in terms of time. But that's what I was talking about in the opening of the show today. Being a radio announcer is pretty safe, I think, although Silly texted and said, well, Steve could get an electric shock or heaven forbid, be electrocuted by a defective microphone. Let me check this one. Nope. I think it's okay. I think I'm safe today. You said maybe I should wear rubber gloves or a bulletproof vest or a helmet, or maybe all of those things. Safety first, as they say, right? Jokes aside, it's a really safe job, right? And I always talk about the advantages of being a radio announcer. There are there's a laundry list of advantages, but I never talk about just being safe. There's nothing dangerous about this work, and I really should appreciate that, because some jobs out there, every day, police officers, for example, but not only police officers. There are plenty of jobs where when you go to work every day, there's risk of injury or worse even. So we do have to keep that in mind. If our job is pretty safe, we should be thankful for it. Again, back to the fun fact of the day. We'll talk about some of the most dangerous jobs in the U.S. for the year 2023. And of course, that is statistically speaking. After that, we'll move on to Inside Korea. We've got some interesting stories today from here in the country. First, this is very controversial. The government is being criticized for a plan to promote workers with multiple children. We'll get into the details in the second hour, but simply speaking, the more children you have, the better chance you have of being promoted if you are a civil servant. You can see why this is controversial for a multitude of reasons, and we'll talk about that when we get to that story. Controversy in story number two as well. The aquarium, one of the aquariums in Seoul, the Lotte Aquarium, is battling with activists over the release of a beluga whale that calls the aquarium home. Activists are calling for the release of the whale, and hence that's where the problem is coming from. That's the second story. And then for our third story, again, a serious story today. It's a rising problem here in the country. Unemployed youth are giving up on their job searches. So we've got three kind of heavy stories to talk about today for Inside Korea, but all very important stories to talk about as well. All right, so those will be our topics for Inside Korea. Then we'll have Today in Music. We'll find out what happened in today's music history, and I will check your messages throughout the program as well. All right, so here's our question of the day today, and this is work-related. But it's not related to the job that you have now. I think it's something that we think about sometimes, right? I'm not talking about, fantasizing about changing jobs or maybe switching up your career. I want to ask you a simple question. What job do you think you would be really good at? So I want you to fill in the blank today. Finish this sentence. I think I would be really good at And the is what job? What job do you think that you would be really good at? And you can choose any job in the world. I'm very curious to know your answers. And maybe if you can tell me why. Why do you think you would be good at that job? 직업으로 빈간을 채워주세요. 나는 에 정말 자신이 있다. Fun question to think of. Do you ever talk about that? I talk about this kind of stuff all the time. Whenever I'm watching a movie or a drama with my wife and we see some kind of job on there, I always ask her, hey, do you think I'd be good at that? Do you think I'd be a good police detective? Last night I asked her, do you think I'd be a good rapper? Like, if I really tried hard to have a successful rap career, do you think I'd make it? So I ask this kind of question all the time. I think it's fun to think about. So one more time, finish the sentence. I think I would be really good at, and that is a job title. Please fill in the blank with that job title. Text me your answers. Pounder sharp 9050. That will cost you 100 won. You can add us on Kakao Talk for free and send messages for free by searching BEFM or Busan영어방송 in Korean. Same search on your smartphone. You can download the app from any of the app stores. You can listen to our programs there and leave us some comments after logging in. We'll have a break, and when we come back, we'll get into today's Hot Off the Press. Here is Curtis Mayfield. Move on up. That was Curtis Mayfield with Move On Up. We're back, and it's time for today's Hot Off the Press, where from Monday to Friday, we bring you two of the newest, hottest tracks from the world of music. A lot of songs are released every week, and we choose a couple each day that we hope that you'll enjoy. We'll start today with a new song from James Blunt. This is called The Girl That Never Was. James Blunt has shared the emotional new single from his upcoming new album, and that's called Who We Used to Be, and it's set for release on the 27th day of October. That's coming up very, very soon, in just a couple of days. It is delicate, raw, acoustic, and it's one of Blunt's most emotional songs to date. He said, it's a bit of a celebration, an upbeat banger about finally being with the one that you've been searching for your entire life. After that, we'll hear Tilly Valentine's new song, Yours Is Mine. This track features the dreamy vocals of Tilly Valentine alongside catchy and uplifting melodic beats at every corner, reminiscing on the promise of what yours is mine while discovering an ex's forgotten belongings. Valentine takes the promise quite literally with her ode to post-relationship liberation. She shares, it's a strange moment when you find traces of your ex's life still lingering around. Finding their forgotten belongings and turning them into a silver lining is a lighthearted way of taking back control. Here we go with our two tracks for Hot Off the Press today. New from James Blunt, The Girl That Never Was, and then the new tune from Tilly Valentine, Yours Is Mine.
is mine now.
Tilly Valentine, Yours Is Mine, and before that, James Blunt, The Girl That Never Was. Those were our two tracks for Hot Off the Press today. Question of the day today. This is a fun one. This is what I want you to do. Fill in the blank. I think I would be really good at... And that blank is a job title. So fill in the blank with a job title. I think I would be really good at this job. 직업으로 빈칸을 채워주세요. 나는 이곳에 정말 자신이 있다. What do you think? What's your answer? Got a message from Anna. Good afternoon, Anna. And Anna says, the reality is that everything is fun when it's a hobby. Hobbies are fun, but when those hobbies turn into work, then suddenly it becomes hard. I think it's the same no matter what you do. For example, cooking is fun if it's your hobby, but working at a restaurant is hard. That's true. You know, I knew a couple of executive chefs before and went out socializing. They brought their wives to an event, so I got to meet the chef's wives. And of course, what do you say to a chef's wife when you meet them? You always say, oh, wow, it must be so amazing being married to an executive chef. I bet they make incredible food at home all the time, right? And the answer is nope. Never, because they don't want to cook when they come home from work. The last thing the chef wants to do is cook again. And that totally made sense to me when I heard it. The irony, actually, from what I learned from talking to my executive chef friends, is that when you become an executive chef, you actually don't cook that much. When you're being promoted and you're working your way up in your career in the kitchen and you're a chef in the kitchen, then yeah, you're working hard, you're cooking a lot. But when you become the chief chef, the head chef, you actually don't do that much cooking. I don't know, but that's according to the friends who are chefs that I knew. Interesting to know that, isn't it? But I agree with you, Anna. Yeah, when it's done as a hobby, then it's kind of enjoyable because no one's forcing you to do it. It's your choice. But when it becomes work, then it's a different story. That's a really good point. All right, what else do we have here in terms of messages? You know what? I think I'm going to save them until hour number 2 because I do need to say hello to Jimmy right around now, don't I? So keep your messages coming in and tell me, which job do you think that you'd really be good at? I'm curious to know what your thoughts on that one are. Let me know if you think you'd be a good radio announcer as well. Oh, let me check one more message, actually, before we move on. 0401 texted in and said, I think I'd be really good at being a professor because I love talking and I love showing off my knowledge. Come take a chair next to me, 0401. That's kind of what I do every day. Although I'm not sharing my knowledge, I'm sharing what I find on the internet with you. I look it up so you don't have to, which really makes me wonder, like radio announcers back in the 1970s or 80s before the internet, what did they do? What'd they talk about? Did they go to the library every single day? Must have been a really tough job, I would think. Now, pretty simple. All right, yes, do share your answers. Text me, ## 9050 on your cell phone for 101. Add us on Kakao Talk for free. Search BEFM or 부산영어방송 in Korean. Same search on your smartphone. You can download the app from any of the app stores. You can listen to our programs there and leave us a comment after logging in. Jimmy's here. It's time for another edition of Bring On Busan. How you doing, Jimmy?
Woohoo! Jimmy in the building. I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. You saw the new Leonardo DiCaprio movie.
Yes.
Okay, give us your review. What's it called again?
I forgot the name of it.
Right? Nobody can remember the name of this movie.
Yeah, something, anyways.
In the Moonlight or
yeah.
Murders in the Moonlight. Anyway, it's DiCaprio, it's De Niro, and it's a Martin Scorsese film. So give us your review.
I mean, I definitely loved it because it was about, like, you know, the newcomers of the land, I mean, which is Americans taking over the parts of, you know, the traditional Indians where they live and etc.
Native Americans.
Yeah. So I really loved it. I love the OSTs. I love the storytelling. I love the directing.
It didn't feel like a 3-hour and 20-minute movie?
To be honest, though, yes, it did. I looked at my watch just for once, but then luckily I didn't fall asleep for it. But in the end, I really loved it. And then, I highly recommend if you can actually sit your butt on the chair for 3 hours long.
Yeah, right. What's your answer to this question, Jimmy? What job do you think you'd be really good at?
Oh, I think I really thought about, the radio announcer as well. But then I kind of want to owe sports agencies.
Oh,
yeah.
A sports agency.
Yeah, just like Rich Paul, a friend of LeBron James. I mean, by the way, the NBA regular season just started. It kicked off today.
Basketball fans are super happy today.
Right. So as a sports fan, I once thought about owning a sports agency.
Well, what about just being a sports agent?
Yeah, that too. But I don't want to be an athlete because that's hard work, and then you probably have to go through all those routines, and then you have to think about getting injuries and etc. So it could be better to just kind of sit back, lean back, and controlling the players,
negotiate the contracts. Yeah. If you have a star athlete, then you make a lot of money too. Don't
That's what
you?
I'm talking about.
Right. All right. Let's get into it, Jimmy. It's time for Bring On Busan, and you are here to give us the best that Busan has to offer in terms of places to go and things to see. Where are we going today?
Yeah, this place actually fits, the season really well, especially in autumn and winter. I'm taking you to 국제 커피 박물관.
Oh, there's a coffee museum?
Yes, International Coffee Museum in Donggu area.
Never heard about this before.
Yeah. I mean, many people around us, including us, drink coffee almost every day.
Sure.
And especially this year, Busan declared itself the global coffee city. And as well as you guys all know that, it's a coffee 도시 Busan. So, I really wanted to, take you guys to this place that it's related to coffee, and there is a, museum for it.
So why is it called the Global Coffee City? Is it just because there are so many coffee shops here, or is there another reason for that?
Well, that too, but believe it or not, coffee imports through Busan port, almost 80% of it, in this, domestic market.
Oh, so almost all the coffee in Korea.
Yeah, it comes to Busan port.
Through the Busan port. So probably they pick out the best ones in Busan port and keep them here in the city.
Right. And probably you heard, there is a coffee specialist who won the World Barista Champion here in Busan.
I heard about that.
Yeah, and there's over 5,000 coffee, specialty shops around this Busan, so...
5,000 coffee shops.
Yeah, of course. The numbers could change, go up and down because some of them are keep opening and some of them are keep closing.
Sure.
But still, average-wise, there's, more than 5,000 coffee specialty shops around Busan. So.
Still, that's a pretty big number, isn't it?
Right?
All right. 국제 커피 박물관. Where do we begin?
Yeah, in the place where the old Busan Jin station in Donggu, Busan was actually, had decided to open up a new cultural complex called Donggu Cultural Platform. This is right outside of the Busan Jin station once you exit through, the station itself.
Busan Station and Busan Jin Station, are those the same thing?
Oh, different. Busan Jin역, yes. Busan Jin역. We have to actually exit through the Busan Jin station.
Ah, okay. Is that next to Busan Station?
Yes, it's very near. Thank you for pinpointing out that. And this platform was actually established just last year. And on the first floor of a Busan Jin station, Citizen Square, you can actually find the International Coffee Museum.
Ah, this is connected to Busan Jin Station.
Yes. You gotta come outside of it though.
Okay.
Because right next to this place, there is a museum too.
Okay.
So you get to see these both places.
Pretty cool. So what's a coffee museum? I couldn't even guess what's in there, like old styles of coffee machines and things like that?
Yeah, you got it right. If you are interested in coffee and if you are the collector of those, goods, then there is museum exhibits around 2,000 coffee-related artifacts and products.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, allowing you guys to actually find out how it began. You know?
2,000 coffee-related artifacts and products. So
Right.
I guess you get to see, and this is international, you said. So this isn't just from Korea. These are artifacts from all over the world?
Definitely. Definitely. I heard that one of the, citizen of Busan actually collected all these coffee-related goods,
Is
for
that
many
right?
years.
And then they opened a museum.
You're right.
Oh,
and
this
it's
is-
free of charge, too.
This is a personal collection.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, personally, even though I drink coffee almost every day, I'm not really familiar with all different kinds of those, coffee related goods and, coffee maker, products and machines and etc. So even for me, I really had a good time in here just browsing through all this, coffee related stuff.
I don't know when the capsule machines got created. I don't know how long those have been around. But that was a real game changer.
Right?
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because before, I remember growing up and my parents would make a pot of coffee. And that seems so archaic now, doesn't it?
Yeah, we don't really do that.
Like you get the little white paper filter, and which is pretty big, and then you put all the coffee grounds in there, and then you make a whole pot of coffee. But nowadays, you just put the capsule in there. Individual cups can be made. There are espresso machines that can be a little bit affordable, but there are espresso machines that are thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that you can buy for your shop or for your own home.
Yeah.
So it really is kind of it's an interesting industry because you can buy things for commercial use, you can buy things for home use, and the price range of things and the way to create a cup of coffee is so diverse.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, thanks to the advancement of the technologies, just like what you said, nowadays people just, get up in the morning and then put the one capsule, the coffee capsule, and then boom, there it goes. But at the same time, I'm sure that, so many people out there still would like to use all that old tradition, taking out the filter and you got to boil the water.
Or the French press. Did you ever have one of those little things? Do you know what I'm talking about? So it's like a tall tube. And then you put the coffee grounds in the bottom, and then you pour the water in. So the coffee grounds kind of float up with the water, right?
Oh, I've never had that before.
So then you just let it kind of sit there for a few minutes, and then you take this kind of plunger thing, and you shove it in the tube, and you push all the coffee grounds down to the bottom.
That sounds interesting.
So it holds them on the bottom, but the coffee is above the ground,
Right.
so they don't mix. I think that's called a French press.
Wow, I would love to try that.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying, actually. Like, it's really fun in the beginning, and then after that, you're like, oh, I'll just go to Tim Hortons.
But at least, did it taste good?
Yeah, I mean, it's a cup of coffee. I'm not really a coffee snob, actually. Like, I like coffee. I can tell when a coffee is good. I can tell when it's really, really good or when it's really not great. But, I'll drink almost anything.
You don't mind it?
I don't mind.
Right.
Not so much.
I got you.
All right, we're talking about the Gukjae Coffee Museum today, located at Busan Jin Station in Donggu, here in the city, with Jimmy in today's Bring on Busan. And we'll learn more about it when we come back. Here is Joel Corey drinking. That was Joel Corey with Drinking, and today with Jimmy in Bring On Busan, we're learning about the 국제 Coffee 박물관, the International Coffee Museum, which is located at Busanjin Station in Donggu here in Busan. We learned before the break a couple of interesting things. I didn't know that you said between 80 and 90% of the coffee all over the country is delivered through the port of Busan. And it's kind of made Busan a coffee city, maybe the coffee capital of Korea, right? You mentioned as well 5,000 shops all around the city here. Yeah, you don't have to walk 10 feet.
I mean, you know it already, right?
To find Seoul's the same.
Yeah,
Seoul's exactly the same. There's a coffee shop literally on every corner of the city. The museum itself, you said more than 2,000 coffee-related artifacts and products, and this is all a private collection collected by one person.
Right.
I wonder who that person is.
I know, right? If I could possibly interview him or meet him later, I would love to. I would love to hear about those special goods and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so you've visited here before.
Sure.
Tell us about your experience.
I mean, yeah, I definitely have a little bit of knowledge about coffee because since I love coffee, I used to work at one of my friend's shop.
Did you?
I didn't really want it to become like a professional barista, but as a coffee lover, I just kind of wanted to know the whole process.
Yeah.
Right?
So what is the basic process then?
I mean, you don't really, you have to actually buy all those beans. And then from that, they have to be roasted, ground, and brewed using those kind of, professional methods and immersion and pour over. And then some people just to use it from the machines and etc. And then there comes a cup of coffee.
I was watching this documentary or show on YouTube. And the episode was about coffee. Oh. And it was this barista, like a world famous barista. And I think he was from Indonesia or at least living in Indonesia, I think. And he was talking about, I forget exactly, but something like when coffee beans, after they get roasted, they're only fresh for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter about vacuum sealing or how they're packaged. It's a couple of weeks to get their ultimate freshness. I think I remember that's what he said.
Right. I agree with that.
I thought, oh, that's interesting. So I don't know how old the coffee is by the time it gets to our lips.
Right.
But that's interesting to know. Really freshly roasted coffee beans must taste on another level, I
think
guess.
so.
And I don't even know if I've ever had that before.
Me neither.
Right?
I don't really know.
Yeah.
But I just kind of could get confused because I saw, once I walked into the place, I saw, enormous type of different, gigantic machines. So I kind of wanted to know, how to use them or how it kind of, made for and etc. It was interesting.
Yeah, right. Did it inspire you to maybe have, a really cool coffee maker in your home or an espresso machine?
Well, I really do, but then I kind of don't want to go through all the process, so I would rather walk out of my home and then just buy one of
down the street.
Of coffee.
See, it's people like you. That's why there's 5,000 shops around the city, right? Because everybody feels like that. So when you go into the museum, how does it go? Is it like a chronological? They walk you through the history of coffee machines, coffee makers, coffee in general. How does it go when you visit the museum?
Oh, there's no guide, but then once you stepped into this place, you can see a banner says free tasting. So once you step into this museum, you can get a free, cup of coffee.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't go every day, maybe. But then you can, surely can taste a sip of a coffee there.
Okay.
And then you can just easily look around, looking at all those, different type of equipments.
I'm guessing there are explanations. If there's no guide, at least there must be. Most museums have a description of
definitely
what you're looking at.
Right.
Anything cool that you remember seeing?
I just kind of saw this huge, tall, it's not a coffee maker machine, but then it's some kind of like a tool that, you can actually see all those detailed process, how it goes through.
Like the water. The tubes, all the tubes inside.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. Have you ever had Vietnamese egg coffee?
Not yet.
So what they do is it takes a long time if you order it because what they do is I'm not sure of the exact process, but it's a cup of espresso and then on top of that they whip an egg for like 20 minutes.
Wow.
And then after it's all whipped, then they put that on top. I don't know if they mix that egg with milk. I don't know if it's just a whipped egg. I don't know. But then they put that on top of the espresso. So it's like this thick, creamy. It's when you take one sip, the top part, you get the whipped egg, right? But then underneath that whipped egg, when you take a sip, you get the hot, strong, bitter espresso under there. It's really, really quite good.
Wow.
I don't know if every cup of coffee is like that in that style, or if that was just that particular coffee shop that made it like that. But anyway, it was really good.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So once we swallow it, all we have to do is just lick our mouth with the cream, right?
The problem was it took 20 minutes to make because you have to whip the egg. They did it by hand.
That's the thing.
It took a long time.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so how do we get there?
If you're traveling from Busan Station, it's really close, taking the public transportation, it's, really easy to get. Taking the bus, number 85 or 134 and other options, you only go there for like 4 stops and then you'll just reach to the Busan Jin Station.
Okay.
And then, you can just walk for about 1 minute.
Any days that we can't go there?
Oh, yeah. Mondays are off. So
Okay.
you basically have to visit there from Tuesday till Sunday, and then they will close at 6 p.m.
Oh, okay. So maybe go there around 5 p.m. is probably the latest time you'll want to go. 'Cause
Right.
You probably want to spend some time in there as well, I would think.
Definitely.
Okay, any famous foods? Like, probably not in the museum, but just around that area. Is Busanjin known for any types of foods?
Yeah, this place is really well known for stew, like Hanwoo beef stew, Hanwoo 곰탕, or 갈비탕, short rib stew.
Oh, nice.
You've tried them before, right?
Yeah,
Like
of course.
곰탕.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, it's very good. You can go check out the coffee museum and then get some galbitang on your way out. Very good. All right, so let's get to our Satori lesson for today. What's it all about?
Sure. Let's listen to the short audio clip first.
잡은다. 잡은다.
차분다. Is that what she said?
Yeah, 잡은다. 잡은다.
차분다.
Right.
Okay, let me take a guess. Well, this sounds like a verb. Is it a verb?
Well, yeah.
Okay, because there's a da at the end. Like kada, hada.
Yeah.
Cha is either tea.
No, cha.
Cha, sleep.
Oh, it was too easy for you.
Okay, so hold on. Cha bun is a nice way to say person. Okay, so cha bunda, sleep person.
Oh.
So what's this? Okay, hold on. Sleep person. It's a sleep person. Sleepwalking? Probably not sleepwalking.
99% right, but then let me just help you out with it. It's basically 존다.
Oh, like sleepy?
Yeah, like doze off. Doze off.
To actually fall
yes,
asleep.
it's a little bit different. 졸린다 and 잠 온다, we all know.
졸린다, 졸려. That means
I feel sleepy.
I'm sleepy.
Right.
Okay.
But this one, 잡은다, is you get to see somebody actually dozing off.
So the person who is chabunda
Right.
doesn't say chabunda.
Yes, that
Because
yeah.
they're asleep.
Right.
It's impossible for them to say that. So this expression is when you're looking at another person and then you want to say to them or to someone else,
Definitely.
you just fell asleep.
Yeah. 잡은다, 깨워, wake him up,
So let's see. If you go to a movie with your friend or with your partner and your partner falls asleep, then you can like elbow them and say, hey, 일어나, 잡은다. Like you fell asleep?
Yeah. That person is 자분다, so wake him up.
So is this what I say to that person?
No, to the other person.
To a third person?
Yes. We are all here together, and then, if you are actually, dozing off, I can say, hey, buddy, wake him up. 자분다. He's falling asleep.
I'll wake him up.
Yeah.
To a third person. But if there's no third person, you don't say this to the person who fell asleep.
No.
Oh.
Or you could actually say that, but then as what you said, that person wouldn't even hear that because they're already sleeping already.
Right, because chabunda means they fell asleep, wake them up.
Right.
This is okay. So having that third person there is important because I was thinking if I'm watching a movie in the theater with my wife and she falls asleep,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say to the person sitting next to me, "Hey, she fell asleep. Wake her up."
No way.
Yeah. So you make sure you know the person. I guess.
Yeah. You would just rather straightly say to your wife, "Wake up,"
Yes.
rather than "Chabunda."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Chabunda. Good one for today. Jimmy, thank you so much as always. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.
All right. See you next week.
Stay with us for hour number 2. It will be Sarah Keys to wrap up the first. Sarah Kays, excuse me. Miss Me the Same.
Your Race to the World. BEFM 부산 영어방송.
구 년 전, 한국에서의 새로운 출발을 위해 부산을 처음 찾은 프랭크. 부산의 자연과 사람, 부산에서 누리는 모든 것을 사랑하는 그는 부산의 변함없는 한대에 늘 감탄합니다.
I think that Busan people are actually very, very kind and very welcoming. If I seemed a little lost, there was always someone that was there to ask me if I needed help. They're more seriously friendly than it's very serious. I very seriously want to help you.
부산의 한결같은 모습도 늘 감동을 주지만 이제는 부산의 미래를 꿈꾸며 2030년 부산의 새로운 도약을 기대합니다.
Busan people are very proud of their city. They want to share the city with everyone. If we get the World Expo, it'll really put Busan on a global map.
세계 박람회가 어울리는 도시, 미래를 향한 힘찬 도약. 부산에서 출발한 파도는 이미 세계를 향해 뻗어 나가고 있습니다. 2030 부산 세계 박람회. 부산이 시작하고 대한민국이 함께 이뤄갑니다. 이 캠페인은 지역과 함께하는 든든한 동반자 BNK 부산은행과 함께합니다.
괜찮아 괜찮아 조금 불편해도 환경을 위해 너무 괜찮아 일회용 컵 대신 머그컵 비닐봉지 대신 에코백 물티슈 대신 손수건 우리의 실천 하나하나 모여 세상을 바꿔요 깨끗한 세상 플라스틱 제로 일회용품 제로 함께해서 참 좋은 우리의 시민
이 캠페인은 부산환경공단이 함께합니다.
김밥가게 박 사장님도 문구점 김 사장님도 우리 부산의 경제를 움직이는 사람들. 우리 동네 작은 가게로 향하는 발걸음이 우리 부산의 경제를 키워가는 한 걸음입니다. 부산 방송광고 발전 협의회.
The time is now 3 o'clock.
You're listening to Steve Hatherly Reboot on BEFM 90.5. That was Painted Black by the Rolling Stones, and that song came from 1966, and it was written from the viewpoint of a person who was depressed and wants everything to turn black to match his mood. There was no specific inspiration for the lyrics of the song, though. Mick Jagger talked about the song's psychedelic sound. He said, "The track has sitars on it. It's like the beginnings of miserable psychedelia. It's what the Rolling Stones started, and maybe we should have some sort of revival of that." Great tune from the Rolling Stones to get us into the second hour of Steve Hatherly Reboot on this Wednesday afternoon from Busan. We continue to be live in hour number 2, and you are tuned in on BEFM 90.5 in Busan and 103.3 FM in the Gijang, Jongguan, and Noksan areas, in Seoul on TBS EFM, that's 101.3, and in Gwangju on GFN 98.7. Coming up in hour number 2 of the show today, for our fun fact of the day, we'll have a look. It's a little bit dark, I suppose, isn't it, to talk about the most dangerous jobs in the United States for the year 2023, because this is fatalities, statistically speaking. And I won't focus on talking about, the number of deaths that the job creates per year. I won't focus on that. I might mention it a couple of times, but I just thought it might be interesting to go over and have a look at some of the more dangerous jobs that are out there in America. This is from America, but of course this is just a cross-section, right? This would be representative of the same jobs in different parts of the world as well, I would have to assume. That'll be our topic for our fun fact of the day. And then when we move on to Inside Korea, 3 kind of serious stories I have for you today. 1, the government is being criticized for a plan to promote workers with multiple children. We're talking about government employees, civil servants, and the idea is, and we'll talk more specifically about the details, the idea is the more children you have, the better chance you have of being promoted. This is being heavily criticized on the internet. Again, I'll give you the details in a little while. After that, the Lotte Aquarium in Seoul is battling with activists over the release of a beluga whale. We'll talk about that. And there's a rising problem here in Korea as well. For our third story, we'll discuss the unemployed youth and the fact that they are giving up on job searching. That is not a good thing. So those will be our 3 stories that we'll talk about for Inside Korea today. Then we'll move on to Today Music. We'll find out what happened in today's music history, and I will check your messages throughout hour number 2 as well. Our question of the day today, it's work related. It's not related to the work that you're doing right now. It's about a job that that you think you would be good at. Not I think you would be good at. I don't know what you'd be good at. So here's the thing. You have to fill in the blank to this sentence. I think I would be really good at fill in that blank with a job title. 직업으로 빈칸을 채워주세요. 나는 이곳에 정말 자신이 있다. What do you think? What is it for you? Jin Young says, well, I really love scuba diving and I love swimming, so I think I would be good at teaching swimming skills to others. But that's not what I do. I work in a different job. Swimming teacher, swim instructor. That would be a good job. I wonder if that would be hard on your skin, though, because you'd be in the pool all the time, right? You'd always be in the pool all day, every day. And that sounds like an amazing thing, doesn't it? All day in a swimming pool sounds delightful. But what about the skin on your fingers and your toes? If you stay in the bath for too long, or if you wash the dishes for too long, then your fingertips become like raisins. I always take a break. If I'm washing the dishes and my fingertips turn into like that kind of wrinkly, like 99-year-old person type skin, then I stop and I take a break and I wait for my skin to go back to normal, and then I wash the rest of the dishes. I really don't like that. That's why I don't like taking a bath. Actually, let me rephrase. That's one of the many reasons I don't like taking a bath, because your skin gets all weird And I don't like that feeling. I'm not sure if that happens to swim instructors or not, but I would have to think so. Good answer, though. It would be fun, I think, to teach other people how to swim every single day. And I think the reason it would be a great job is because those people want to be there. They signed up to learn how to swim, right? So if you're teaching someone and they're really eager to learn, like they want to learn, then teaching is fun. Teaching is difficult when you're trying to teach someone who has no interest in the subject that you're teaching. And that's why public school teachers deserve so much respect, because oftentimes, not all the time, of course, but oftentimes the students don't have a high level of interest in any particular subject. It's not the fault of the teacher per se. It's just being young, right? Nobody really loves school when you're super young. Thank you, Jin Young, for the answer. I like this answer, too, from I Am Koi. Well, Koi likes to make people happy. So Koi says, maybe it would be possible to make people happy on a professional level, like a professional happiness maker, so to speak. I think that's a great answer. A professional what job would that be? A professional happiness maker. Barista, coffee maker, bartender. Is that a professional happiness maker? No, that might be a professional depression maker. Well, depending on the person that you're serving, I suppose, right? It could go either way. Professional happiness maker. I like the sounds of that. I like the attitude as well. Keep your answers coming in and tell me, if you were to choose a job, which job do you think that you would be really, really good at? Please fill in this sentence with a job title. I think I would be really good at... What's your answer, Napidi? You haven't told me yet. Please write it down later and I'll share it with the audience. I'm curious to know. You're obviously a very good producer, but what other job would you be interested in? I'm curious. 직업으로 빈칸을 채워주세요. 나는 에 정말 자신이 있다. Text me, #sharp 9050. That will cost you 101. Add us on Kakao Talk for free and send messages for free by searching BEFM or 부산영어방송 in Korean. Same search on your smartphone. You can download the app from any of the app stores. You can listen to our programs there and leave us a comment after logging in. Okie dokie. Let's move on to our expression for today. It's from King the Land. And in this scene is moved on to the other side story in this drama. And I'm not really sure what's going on in this side story. I'm not really paying too much attention. But it's about some... what do you call that in the airport? Duty-free. Yeah, right. Duty-free. It's about a duty-free shop, and the employees at the duty-free shop are, they have the lowest sales, and therefore they have to increase their sales. This is a side story in this drama. I don't really understand what's going on there. But anyway, in this scene, the boss comes in to talk to the employees, and the employees are sitting at the table, and everyone looks super, super sad and depressed. So the boss says this.
표정들이 왜 그래?
표정들이 왜 그래? All right, so 표정들이. All right, let's go through this and break it down piece by piece. 표정 means facial expression. Your facial expression is 표정. 표정들 means facial expressions with an S at the end. And the E just is an attachment to that. So 표정들이, your facial expressions. 왜 그래? What's wrong? So, literally translated, your facial expressions, what's wrong? Switch the grammar to English. What's wrong with your facial expressions? And then change it into a better English expression or a better way to express it in English, and it came out as this at the bottom of the screen. Why the long faces? Why the long faces? This is a fun expression, right? What this means, well, let's talk about it literally first. When someone is sad, or if someone is depressed, then they're not smiling, right? Usually they are frowning, F-R-O-W-N. A frown is the opposite of a smile. It's an upside down smile. So if you're sad or if you're frowning, then your face literally kind of gets longer. Do you know what I mean? When you smile, your face from the top to the bottom, it gets a little bit shorter, doesn't it? But when you frown or when you're sad, then your face gets a little bit longer. So that's why in English we say, why the long face? Why the long face? And what it means is, what's wrong? Why are you sad? It's a cute expression, right? Why the long face? We have some other expressions that you can use in English when someone is maybe looking so sad or looking a little bit depressed. Do you want a really cute one? You can use this one with your coworkers or with your friends or families. Here's the expression. Why so glum, chum? And this is meant to be cute. Why so glum? Glum is G-L-U-M, and chum is C-H-U-M. And glum means sad, and chum means friend. So why so glum, chum? Means, why are you so sad, friend? But it's a cute way to say it. If the person is like bawling and screaming and crying seriously, do not use this expression. This is only if they just, like that. Then you can use this kind of expression. If it's serious, don't use this expression at all. And here's one more bonus expression for you. Oh, you're feeling down today? You're feeling blue? Hey, let's go out and grab a coffee. Let's turn that frown upside down. Turn that frown. Again, a frown is the opposite of a smile. So if you turn a frown upside down, it means let's make you smile. Hey, you looked so sad today. Let's go out and get a coffee. Let's turn that frown upside down. Really cute expressions, right? Sometimes English has some fun expressions in it. Once again in Korean, 표정들이 왜 그래 means like, hey, what's wrong with your facial expressions? But what she's really asking is, hey, what's wrong, everybody? Let's hear it one more time.
표정들이 왜 그래?
왜 그래? That's like 7 seconds in one syllable. Korean's so fun. All right. Hopefully that helps out your language, English or Korean, depending on which one you're studying. If not both, we'll have a break. And when we come back, it's a little bit dark, but also kind of interesting. The 10 most dangerous jobs in the United States for the year 2023. Here is Eliza Doolittle, Pack Up. That was Eliza Doolittle with Pack Up, and now it's time for our fun and dark fact of the day. We're going to talk about, statistically speaking, the 10 most dangerous jobs in the world. So I found this or not in the world, in the United States. But again, I think, with these jobs, if we use the United States as a cross-section, so to speak, like a little petri dish almost, then we get a larger picture of these jobs in other parts of the world as well. Just because they're dangerous in one part of the world, it probably means that they are also dangerous in another part of the world, if you catch my drift. All right, so how did they come up with this? How did they come up with this? Well, again, it's from Forbes magazine, and Forbes analyzed data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics on the number of fatal work injuries per 100,000 full-time workers to determine which professions present the highest risks. And based on that research, Forbes magazine came out with the 10 most dangerous jobs in America for 2023. So let's go through all 10. We're not going to go into great detail on all 10, but just so we can know. Just FYI type thing. Number 10 on the list. This is data, by the way, from the year 2021. So the number of fatalities in 2021 totaled 30 for this job: electrical power line installers and repairers. That meant that there was a fatal injury rate of 22 per 100,000 full-time workers. So electrical power line installers. So if you're going down the street, if you're driving down the street or walking down the street, and sometimes like the power pole, you look up and you see the man or the woman, and they're in that little, I don't even know how you describe that, like the little kind of bucket that's attached to a truck, and they're way up high and they're working on the power lines. Apparently, that's a really dangerous job. I never thought about that. I never considered that to be a dangerous job, but it's so obvious when you think about it. Electrical power line installers and repairers, they're responsible for the maintenance of power lines and electricity. So it's obvious why this is so dangerous, right? But here's another thing I didn't know. They get paid really, really well, at least in the United States. The average salary for a power line installer or repairer is $82,000, almost $83,000 a year. That's pretty good, I would say. Wouldn't you say? That's really, really good. It's a lot higher than I thought it would be. But since it's a dangerous job, that's really good that they are so well paid. Number 9 on the list, construction trade workers, 23 per 100,000. Average salary about $56,000, $57,000 a year. And the reason why for construction workers, falls, slips, trips. They're working in residential and commercial buildings, right? And they're building from the ground up. Therefore, it's obvious why this would be a really, really dangerous job. They do remodeling, they do repair work, and there's a lot of heavy equipment involved as well, working in dangerous conditions at really high heights. Number 8 on the list, underground mining machine operators. Working in a mine. This is what my grandfather did for a living, as a matter of fact. I think I've mentioned Spring Hill, Nova Scotia on the show before. Spring Hill, Nova Scotia was a mining town a long time ago. I don't think it is anymore. I mentioned it before because that's where my father was born, and Anne Murray, the singer, Anne Murray, that's where she's from as well. Anyway, my grandfather was a coal miner. And one day he was supposed to go to work, but his shift got switched. Well, on that day, the mine collapsed, and my grandfather's life was saved. An unbelievably lucky day for my grandfather. But yes, working in an underground mine is a really, really dangerous job. At a rate of 27 per 100,000 full-time workers, average salary $59,000, just over $59,000. Number 7 on the list, recyclable material collectors. Now, this one I found a little bit surprising. The rate is 28 per 100,000 at a salary of over $45,000, and it's the material collectors that are responsible for picking up trash and recycling from residential and commercial properties. They drive large trucks throughout the cities, and they transport the materials from homes and businesses to landfills. And I guess it's all about being on the road a lot of the time, because like delivery drivers and truck drivers, they face an elevated risk at work because of their time spent on the roads, motor vehicle accidents. That's the biggest reason for that danger to that particular job. Number 6, delivery and truck drivers. I just mentioned it. Again, it makes sense, right? They're always on the road. Number 5 on the list, iron workers, steel workers. Again, that makes sense. Number 4 on the list, aircraft pilots and flight engineers. This one probably makes the most sense so far, right? 48 per 100,000 full-time workers, average salary of $189,000 per year. When you're flying a plane or a helicopter, your pilots are responsible for the aircraft, and that can be very dangerous at times. We know about that. Number 3 on the list, fishing and hunting workers. Do you find this one surprising? Average salary, $58,000, fatal injury rate of 75 per 100,000. And I thought this was kind of an interesting one to find on this list. Fishing and hunting workers are responsible for trapping and catching a wide variety of land animals and fish, and workers may perform their jobs on boats or in forests or other isolated areas. And this is why, because of the remote locations that they work, if something goes wrong, then there's really no one else around to help. Hence the high injury rate and why it is so dangerous. Roofers are on this list as well. Roofers, 59 per 100,000. Falls, slips, trips. You're working at an elevation where if you slip and fall, then that's going to be very dangerous for you. And number 1 on the list, can you guess? Now remember, this is from Forbes magazine, and this is for 2023. But number 1 on the list, the most dangerous job, statistically speaking, in the United States, husband. Just kidding. That's a joke. Logging workers is the answer. Working in the logging industry is the number 1 most dangerous job in America this year. Fatality rate, 82 per 100,000 full-time workers. They make around $48,000 a year. And yes, it is a dangerous job because of the contact that loggers come into with objects and equipment that are really, really large. A logging worker, they work in the forest, right? Cutting down really, really large trees, and they work in isolated environments. They often work in poor weather conditions as well. They work with heavy machinery. They work with heavy machinery and dangerous machinery and sharp instruments too. This is like the perfect storm, so to speak, isn't it? I never thought about it, though, and I did find it surprising. Working in the logging industry, statistically speaking, according to data collected from Forbes magazine, is the number 1 most dangerous job in the United States for 2023. Kind of an interesting list, I thought. I hope you enjoyed that as well. All right, we'll have a break, and when we come back, we'll get to our Inside Korea stories. Here is Crowded House. First, Don't Dream It's Over. That was Crowded House. Don't dream it's over. And now it's time to move on to our Inside Korea stories for today. These are quite serious, but I think these are all pretty important issues happening here in the country right now. So let's dive in. First up, a heated debate is brewing over the government's recent decision to grant additional points for promotions to civil servants with 2 or more children. The decision was made as part of efforts to join the country's campaign to tackle the record low birth rate and aging population, according to the Ministry of Personnel Management. It came out on Monday. But critics claim that such a policy could cause discrimination against single civil servants or those with only one child, as well as those having difficulty conceiving children during promotion procedures that should always prioritize competence. On October 16th, the ministry made a pre-announcement of the legislation to revise the decree on the appointment of public officials, noting that the revision includes granting additional points for promotions to grade 8 and grade 9 civil servants with 2 or more kids. This means when grade 9 civil servants are promoted to grade 8 and when grade 8 civil servants are promoted to grade 7, those with 2 or more children will have an advantage. In cases, this explains it a little further, in cases where the overall scores are the same for more than 2 candidates for promotions, ones with multiple children could have priority over others. The ministry noted that details such as the definition of multiple children and how many additional points will be granted will be decided by the ministers of each ministry, considering that each one has differing characteristics in terms of human resources. We are working to implement the revision in January. That's a quote from a ministry official. Well, that's the issue. And since that announcement was made, a number of negative opinions have been posted online in online communities, including Blind. Blind is an anonymous workplace community app for verified employees. And one civil servant wrote on Blind, when colleagues take maternity leave or childcare leave, it is mostly singles that are forced to take over their duties. Then the singles will be passed over for promotions under the revision. I don't think that's fair. Another person wrote, the policy can work against singles and those with no children, as well as those with an only child and those having difficulty conceiving children, even if they desperately want to have children. These are some of the points made online. I usually don't give my opinion too strongly on this show, but I will now. This is a terrible idea. This is highly discriminatory. Highly. You can't promote people because they have more children than other people. Don't get me wrong. I understand where the government is trying to come from. The government has a birth rate problem here in the country, and they're trying to encourage people to have more children. So I'm sure they're not trying to punish people here because they don't have enough kids. They're trying to show people, hey, if you do, it can really help out your career. So therefore, it would be a good idea. I understand the sentiment, but the delivery, I really think it's a bad idea. Again, it's super discriminatory, and I don't see how they can go through with this. And again, my opinion is just based on the information that I've read. Maybe I'm not understanding the situation fully. But if I do understand the situation fully, I honestly don't see how they can go through with this without revising it at least a little bit. Easy to see why people are so upset about this one. Speaking of upset, moving on to story number 2. Lotte World Aquarium recently filed charges against a local marine animal rights advocates group for holding a protest within its premises, the latest development in their ongoing battle over the release of a beluga whale. Songpa Police Station in southern Seoul last week said it is pressing charges of destruction of property and interference with business against 8 activists from the group called Hot Pink Dolphins. That's a marine conservation activist group. Last year, they held a protest at the Lotte World Aquarium that's located in Chamsil in southern Seoul, and they demanded that the company release its last surviving beluga, a beluga whale named Bella, to a wildlife sanctuary. The aquarium claimed that the adhesives used to attach the activist banner to the interior glass had caused 700 million won, or about $517,000 in damages, and that their protest inconvenienced visitors and disturbed the animals. The activists claim that the damage was greatly exaggerated. So apparently what the protesters did, they went inside the aquarium, and in front of the beluga exhibit or display, maybe is a better word, they taped a banner to the glass. And the aquarium says that caused 700 million won in damages. And the activist group are saying, no, that's not possible, that it can be that expensive. But, like I said, charges are being filed, so we'll have to see what happens next. The aquarium, by the way, had acquired 3 belugas from Russia upon its opening in 2014, but 2 of them passed away, one in 2016 and one in 2019, and that sparked accusation of animal cruelty from local environmental groups, and the company vowed to move Bella to a wildlife sanctuary by the end of 2022, but they haven't done that yet, and that's why these activist groups are so upset about that. That's story number 2. Moving on to our final one. Unemployed youth are giving up on job searching. A growing number of young Koreans, they don't get married these days, they don't have children these days, as they fail to find adequate employment. So here's the statistic. Nearly 4 out of 10 young unemployed Koreans have been jobless for the last 3 years, highlighting an emerging issue in Korean society. A growing number of young people are giving up on job searching. According to data statistics, 218,000 Koreans aged 15 to 29 had not been employed for more than 3 years as of May of this year, 2023. Among them, 80,000 were those who spent time mostly at home without seeking employment or training and education for hiring opportunities, classifying them as, quote, not in education, employment, or training, end quote. That's the group that they get put into. Statistics Korea also pointed out that the number of economically active young people is constantly decreasing, despite the overall surge of employed people in the whole age range. The data released on the 13th of October showed that in September this year, almost 29 million people aged 15 or older were employed. That's up 309,000 from the same period last year. But the number of employed people aged 15 to 29 decreased by 89,000, continuing the decline for 11 consecutive months. There you go. Those are your issues for today. Those are your stories for today. A little bit heavier, I acknowledge, than what we typically cover here in Inside Korea, but I thought it was definitely worth having a look at all 3 of those stories today. We'll have another break, and when we come back, we'll have Today in Music. Here are Jerry and the Pacemakers. How do you do it? That was Jerry and the Pacemakers, How Do You Do It? And now it's time for Today in Music. We'll have a look at the calendar historically and see what we can see musically speaking, see if anything interesting happened. It's October 25th today, so let's start and begin in 1964. The Rolling Stones made their debut on The Ed Sullivan Show, performing a cover of Chuck Berry's Around and Around, as well as their single Time Is On My Side. Moving way up to 1986, Bon Jovi hit #1 in the U.S. with Slippery When Wet. The album has since been certified 12 times platinum, making it one of the 100 best-selling albums of all time in the United States. In 1986, Cyndi Lauper's True Colors, written by Billy Steinberg and Tom Kelly, hit #1 in America. The song became an anthem of acceptance and is reinterpreted many, many times over the years. Phil Collins, I believe, does an amazing version of that song as well. In 1993, Time magazine put Eddie Vedder on the cover with the headline, All the Rage. Both Vedder and Kurt Cobain refused to speak with the magazine for the story, but they ran it anyway in an attempt to explain why young people were listening to such angry music. Interesting, Kurt Cobain from Nirvana and Eddie Vedder. Those two big bands at the time, right? And all part of the grunge scene. They didn't want to talk to the magazine. Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam, Kurt Cobain from Nirvana. That's kind of fitting, I suppose, at the time. That was 1993. In 1997, the Spice Girls went to #1 on the UK singles chart with Spice Up Your Life. The song's success made them the only act to reach #1 in the UK with their first 5 singles, as well as the first group to debut at the top of the chart 4 times in a row. And finally, we'll stop here today. In 2014, Jack Bruce, best known as 1/3 of Cream, passed away at the age of 71. The bassist and songwriter also had a prolific solo career. That is today's Today in Music. We have time for 2? I think we do. Let's listen to 2 of the artists that we just talked about. Cream, White Room, and then Cyndi Lauper, True Colors. Lovely song from Cyndi Lauper, True Colors, and before that, Cream, White Room. And that'll do it for Steve Hatherly Reboot for this afternoon. Thank you very much for hanging out with me over the last couple of hours. Thanks to Jimmy for today's Bring On Busan. Thanks to you, as always, for your listenership and your participation. I've been your host, Steve Hatherly, and I'll leave you with a little disco today. Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive. Enjoy that. Have a wonderful day, and let's reboot again tomorrow.